All right, only 19 minutes into this baby, and I'm already in a better mood than I've been in months. I love this movie. I think it's got the perfect mixture of comedy and reality. It was written and directed by Dan O'Bannon, the guy who wrote Alien, and it was originally supposed to be directed by Tobe Hooper, who is best known, of course, for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Poltergeist. And actually, I'm going to back up and tell you a little bit more about this movie. Night of the Living Dead, the original, the famous one, came out in 1968. And that was made by a couple of guys in the advertising business in Pittsburgh, George Romero, the director, and his writing partner, John Russo. So after it became the most successful independent horror film in history, Romero and Russo started fussing with each other over who had the rights, you know. And so what they settled on, this is really weird, but Russo got the rights to the script and to the words Living Dead. But Romero got the rights to the word dead used by itself. Are you following this? Only lawyers could come up with this. That's why George Romero's sequels are not Living Dead movies, they're dead movies. Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, not to be confused with Sam Raimi's Evil Dead series. And I wonder if Sam owns the rights to the words Evil Dead. I wonder what his lawyer says. So anyway, Russo, the forgotten partner in the series, he ends up owning Living Dead. So he writes up this story, the one we're watching. He wrote this in the early 70s. Then in the late 70s, he sells the story to a Chicago stockbroker. Are you following me? The Chicago stockbroker hires Dan O'Bannon to write a new script and Tobe Hooper to direct it. Tobe drops out. Dan takes over as director. They make the movie. The people who own Romero's Dead movies sue him anyway to prevent its release, saying it'll be confused with Romero's films. They fight about it. They settle it. It comes out a year late. And, you know, when Day of the Dead did finally come out, the third in Romero's series, some people said the reason that that movie flopped at the box office is that this movie, Return of the Living Dead, came out first, you know, ruining zombie movies forever. Because after you've seen these cadavers, it's kind of hard to take the original ones seriously anymore. So somehow in the early 80s, zombie America had changed.
By that time, Day of the Dead was shot, and it was coming out. So now we had both pictures coming out at the same time. So I said, well, why don't we use our heads here instead of fighting both pictures coming out at the same time and fighting each other. Let's stagger the release schedules so both pictures can make a profit. So Richard Rubenstein, or whoever, I think Richard, was stubborn. You know, oh, we're going to have a big hit and you're going to have a flop, so why should we make any kind of deal like that? And they caused me a lot of grief. And then their picture came out and flopped, and ours came out and became a big success. So, oh boy, every now and then the assholes get their comeuppance. But George and I were on the phone during all this, both thinking that everybody else should be gentlemanly and do the right thing, but then they didn't. So, I mean, it's a myth that George and I ended up enemies because we didn't. Even when I left that company, they offered me more money to stay, but I didn't like the way things were going. And but we never argued, fought, or anything like that.